Hey, welcome back to the book log. Today I'm talking about Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. This book is way more insane than I thought it was going to be. It's one of those books that I've always had some vague conception of it. Like, I knew it was about World War II, and obviously I understand the term Catch-22 like as a colloquialism that people use in day-to-day speech, but this book is simultaneously way funnier, way more absurd, way stranger, and way darker than I ever would have expected. I don't even know how to approach talking about this book, so I think I'm just gonna jump around and talk about random points of interest as they come to mind. This method seems appropriate, as Catch-22 as a book operates in much the same way, having a very loose sense of chronology, abruptly shifting from scene to scene without warning and without a sense of like which temporal direction you're heading in. I guess I should start by talking about Catch-22 as a concept. I think the phrase has lost a little bit of its original intended meaning, which is a normal product of the evolution of language, but it definitely has a more specific definition in this book than it does when you hear it out in the wild. I personally always thought a Catch-22 was just like any lose-lose situation. Like if your two options are both bad things, then bam, you got yourself a Catch-22. In the book, Catch-22, aside from being some like vaguely defined military ordinance, is a problem whose only solution is impossible due to some inherent contradiction within the problem itself. The primary example of this, and a motif that the book returns to very often, is more or less the crux of the novel. The protagonist, Yossarian, he's a bombardier who feels that he has already flown enough dangerous missions and is ready to be grounded and sent home. The colonel, however, keeps raising the required number of missions faster than Yossarian can complete them. Unfortunately, the only way to get sent home before you finish your allotted missions is to be deemed crazy, but understanding the danger of flying combat missions and wanting to get sent home is an inherently sane and rational point of view. So you won't get deemed crazy, and so you have to fly the missions. The very act of wanting to get sent home disqualifies you from getting sent home, in other words. Like I mentioned, that's sort of the primary example, but there are a lot of Catch-22s within Catch-22. For instance, there's a character named Major who makes a rule that he will only see people in his office when he's not there. If someone comes in to see him, they have to wait for him to leave before they can go into his office. Another character named Doktanika is falsely reported dead in a plane crash because he was listed on the flight logs, but he can't convince people the flight logs are incorrect because everyone thinks he's dead. Maybe the most concise example is near the very, very end of the book when an old Italian woman reports that she was told by US soldiers after destroying her entire apartment complex that we can do anything you can't stop us from doing. I think this idea serves a couple of purposes throughout the book. For one, Joseph Heller was actually a real-life bombardier in World War II, and he is very blatantly critiquing the bureaucracy of the military. It's filled with contradictions and absurdities, inane rules and regulations that serve no other purpose than to perpetuate their own existence and to maintain control over the lives of the people living in the system. Obviously, in the book, Heller ramps this up to cartoonish extremes, but there is truth to the core idea that war is irrational and unjust, and that it is used as a tool to maintain and consolidate power rather than do anything virtuous or good. But the other primary purpose of Catch-22 as a concept is that it's just really funny. This book is genuinely laugh out loud hilarious, which is no easy task for a novel, in my opinion. So much of humor relies on pacing and delivery, so to be this funny through nothing but like words on a page is pretty remarkable. It's really stupid kind of humor, but also very clever. Whatever it is, it's the exact kind of stupid humor that makes me laugh, apparently. Every single scene with Orr and the whole Crabapple's horse chestnut bit had me like genuinely struggling to continue reading because of how much it was making me laugh. Like I couldn't physically continue reading the pages. Same with Major's backstory, the bit about the man who saw everything twice. Milo's whole convoluted business venture was really funny. Colonel Cathcart's like constant pathetic groveling for favor. I don't think there's any other book that has made me laugh this frequently, and it's not even close. Honestly, it's not even close. But what really makes this book special is how quickly it can veer into some incredibly dark and harrowing territory. This is a book about war, after all, and war is horrible. Joseph Heller, through direct experience, portrays flying a fighter plane as an act that is immensely terrifying and dreadful. He paints such vivid scenes of these planes barreling through flak and explosions and the passengers disoriented and screaming and afraid. One of the recurring motifs in this book is a specific scene in which Yossarian helplessly watches in terror as Snowden, the young gunner on one of his flights, dies an excruciating death. It's not really a flashback, as this book doesn't occur in chronological order in the first place, but the scene is returned to many times throughout the book, a little bit more fleshed out with each appearance. No pun intended. It was a deeply traumatic event for Yossarian, a profoundly sad scene, and yet something which is like intrinsically tied to all of this detached sense of humor throughout the story. Some of the best prose in the book, too. Man was matter. That was Snowden's secret. Drop him out a window and he'll fall. Set fire to him and he'll burn. Bury him and he'll rot like other kinds of garbage. The spirit gone, man is garbage. Just like, Jesus Christ. I don't know what else to say. This book is just kind of brilliant. Every character is so unique and bizarre and hilarious. Every scene is so cleverly constructed and purposeful, and all without any discernible plot or chronology. There's really not a dull moment in the whole book, besides maybe a few of the like unnecessarily long brothel scenes. But I think the central thesis to this book is incredibly salient, which is that war is insane. It is an inherently insane thing to do. It makes its participants insane, and it is insane on all ends of the emotional spectrum. It's dark and funny and terrifying and strange and sad, and most importantly, it's absurd. I don't think I've ever read a book quite like this, and I'm honestly not sure there even is another book like this. I feel like I gotta give it a 10.